It was supposed to be just a simple trip, a normal, uneventful journey. A teenage girl, filled with excitement, was looking forward to visiting her beloved grandmother. She sat patiently at the airport gate, her heart racing slightly with anticipation. She had everything in order, her boarding pass in one hand, her ID securely tucked away, and all the necessary travel documents. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But in an instant, everything changed. A small group of airport staff huddled together, whispering in hushed voices, occasionally glancing in her direction. Their eyes held something she couldn't quite place. Curiosity? Suspicion? Unease crawled up her spine. Within minutes, the murmurs turned into action. A uniformed police officer suddenly stood in front of her, his face unreadable, his stance firm. His voice carried authority as he spoke. "Miss, I need to see your documents." Maya's heart skipped a beat. What? She had done nothing wrong. She had followed every rule, yet here she was, being treated like a suspect. Her mind raced as she hesitantly handed over her papers, unsure of what was happening. But what came next? No one could have predicted. Maya, a 16-year-old with an independent spirit, had always been confident while traveling alone. Airports weren't new to her. She knew the rules, understood the procedures, and always made sure to comply with every security measure. Her parents had taught her to be responsible, to always carry her identification, and to remain respectful in any situation. But this time, something felt off. Sitting comfortably in the waiting area, she had been listening to music through her headphones, trying to pass the time. That's when she noticed it. The lingering stares. At first, she brushed it off. Maybe she was just imagining things? Maybe they were looking at something behind her? But as the glances continued, doubt crept in. Then, before she could fully process it, an older woman in a crisp airport uniform approached her. The woman's expression was firm, her tone flat, yet there was something unsettling in the way she spoke. "Excuse me, young lady," the woman said, her eyes scanning Maya from head to toe. "Can I see your boarding pass and ID?" Maya blinked in confusion. What? She had already checked in, cleared security, and was waiting at the right gate. Why was she being asked again? Her fingers tightened around her ticket as she hesitated for a moment. Still, not wanting to cause a scene, she gave a small, polite smile and handed over her paperwork. The woman studied the documents far longer than necessary, her eyes narrowing slightly. Something wasn't right. Maya could feel it. Then, without explanation, the woman muttered, "Wait here," before briskly walking away. Maya felt her stomach twist into a tight knot. She watched as the woman disappeared into the crowd, her heart pounding. Moments later, a tall, serious-looking police officer was approaching her. His expression gave nothing away, but the way he moved with purpose made Maya's anxiety skyrocket. What was going on? The officer stopped in front of her, crossing his arms. "We need to ask you a few questions." Maya's breath hitched. Questions? About what? The officer ignored her confusion. His voice remained firm. "What's your reason for traveling? Where are your parents?" Maya swallowed hard, forcing herself to stay calm. "I'm visiting my grandmother," she answered, keeping her voice steady. "My parents are at home." The officer's gaze flickered between her face and the documents in his hand. Then, without warning, he said something that made her stomach drop. "Are you sure this is your ticket? These documents seem questionable." Maya's eyes widened in disbelief. "What?" "Of course they're mine," she protested, her voice slightly shaking. "I checked in like everyone else. Why are you even asking me this?" By now, passengers nearby had begun to take notice. Some looked on with curiosity, others with concern. Maya could feel their stares, the weight of judgment pressing down on her. A lump formed in her throat as a sinking realization hit her. She knew why this was happening. Even if no one would say it outright, she knew. She was a young black girl traveling alone, and someone had assumed she didn't belong. The officer reached for his radio. "We need to verify these documents before she can board." "Step aside, Mississippi." Maya's hands clenched into fists. Her body trembled, not with fear, but with frustration. "This isn't fair," she choked out. "I haven't done anything wrong. Why are you treating me like this?" The officer sighed, his tone dismissive. "Miss, just cooperate." Tears burned at the edges of her eyes, but Maya refused to let them fall. Then a thought struck her. Her father. He had always told her that if she was ever in trouble, she should call him immediately. With shaky fingers, she reached for her phone and dialed his number. As soon as he picked up, her voice came out in a desperate whisper. "Dad, something's wrong. They're saying my documents are fake." His reply was instant, his voice steady and strong. "Stay right where you are. I'll be there soon." 15 minutes later, the atmosphere in the airport shifted dramatically. A tall man in a dark suit walked through the terminal with purpose, his expression unreadable. His presence alone demanded attention. As he approached the gate, the officer questioning Maya straightened up immediately. "Sir, this is a private." But before he could finish, the man pulled out his badge and placed it right in front of the officer's face. "I am Chief Anthony Reynolds, head of the FBI's Special Operations Division. And that young lady you've been harassing? She's my daughter." Silence. The officer's face turned pale. The once confident airport staff members suddenly looked nervous, their eyes darting between one another. The passengers who had been watching the scene unfold now murmured amongst themselves. The officer swallowed hard. "There seems to be some misunderstanding." Chief Reynolds raised an eyebrow. His voice was cold and sharp. "Misunderstanding." He took a step closer, his presence commanding. "You singled out a teenage girl, questioned her legitimate documents, and treated her like a criminal, despite her doing absolutely nothing wrong. That's not protocol. That's discrimination." The officer opened his mouth, but no words came. He had nothing to say. The airport manager was called in, and soon enough, an official apology was issued. The same staff members who had doubted Maya just moments ago suddenly became overly polite. But it didn't matter. The damage had already been done. Maya was shaken, but something inside her had changed. She wasn't just scared. She was proud. Proud that she had stood her ground. Proud that her father had fought for her. And most of all, proud that justice had been served. Before leaving, her father turned to the officer one last time. His voice was firm, unwavering. "Next time, do your job properly. Don't judge someone based on how they look." With that, he took Maya's hand, and they walked away, leaving the stunned staff behind. As Maya finally boarded her flight, she let out a deep breath. A realization settled over her. It shouldn't take having a powerful father to be treated with basic respect. Everyone deserves to be treated fairly, no matter who they are, no matter what they look like. And she was determined to make sure no one else had to go through this again. If you found this story powerful and eye-opening,